Yeah, it's hard to get noticed when you're new, but that's okay, I'm not looking for attention. I'm happy just helping people out, making their work lives work better. I take care of the routine stuff so others don't have to. I guess you could say I'm wired that way. I happen to do things a little differently, so work gets done faster. I've gotten so good at it, it almost takes care of itself. I usually solve problems before they come up. I'm a good listener. I pay attention to the details, look for patterns. What can I say? I love data. Intelligence doesn't come easy. I'm learning new stuff all the time. So I can make suggestions and help out more. I don't expect any fanfare, a pat on the back, or even a thank you. The way I figure it, if I'm doing my job right, people won't really know I'm there. And you know what's funny? Even though they don't seem to notice, I see the difference I make. And at the end of the day, that's enough for me. Why do I do it? I don't know. It's just how I'm made.
There is so much interesting stuff that we can talk about in that video. We're going to have a great time unpacking the Kingston launch today. We've got demos, we've got deep dives where you can choose from 7 sessions and pick the ones that are most relevant for you. And we have plenty of experts standing by for live Q&A. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm Shane Jackson, Kingston's going live. We're back. We have so much to talk about in that video. I've invited some special guests to join me and break it all down for us. So let's introduce them. We have Pat Casey, who is our SVP of DevOps. Pat. Farrell Huff, who is a general manager for our IT business units, particularly ITSM, ITBM, and I know I'm leaving one out.
IT Asset Management.
Oh, there you go. And then Dave Wright, who's our Chief Innovation Officer. Thanks for joining me, guys. So let's start, there was a few things we saw during that video we need to go back, and one of them, it was the big reveal that we were looking at AI, artificial intelligence.
Right.
You guys are out talking to customers all the time. Dave, what do you see when you talk to a customer? What are they thinking about AI? What's the perceptions? Are you seeing shifts?
So I think there's been kind of an evolution in thinking. We still had this, we had this hesitancy first of all about is it real, does it exist? Then we had this whole slope of fear about is it going to take over the world? I think what people have realized now is they can take the data that they've got, and the fact they've got so much data and so much compute resource means they can start to analyze things and make decisions. And people have started to see the basic value in AI just being able to take away some of the monotonous stuff. So you look at the video then, we saw the concepts of categorizing, prioritizing, giving things assignments. But I think it's more than that now. People had this inability to access things in the past, and I think what Pat's done with his guys about the way he's built out the product and allow people to tailor it, that's going to make it a lot more usable for most people.
Okay, so when you were talking about the categorizing and routing work, that was a scene where we saw where he was shifting things in, like there was a lot of work coming in that you would need a whole team of people to be able to do, and by automatically categorizing and routing that based on priority?
Well, so he was getting data coming in, and he was looking at descriptions, and off those descriptions trying to work out categorization. Now, the categorization could drive the assignments, or you could use AI to work that out. And also, no one in the past has ever been able to automatically prioritize things when they come in. And no one wants to do that all day, right? No one wants to sit there just prioritizing work and sorting it. So it's not about getting rid of work. It's about taking some of the mundane elements out of work and just freeing up time to do more useful stuff.
Okay. So how accessible is this? Is this hard, easy?
Well, it's sort of it's the classic problem with kind of all of these AI technologies is that they worked great in a lab, but they didn't really work in the real world. You would have to hire a bunch of scientists and $1 million of consultants and move the data back and forth. That's really been kind of the paradigm shift that at least we're trying to bring to the market, is to build the AI capabilities right into the product. So instead of a big consulting product or project, more accurately, you just turn it on and it works. You know, we're talking about single-digit weeks from the time you turn this on to the time you're live in production. It's 3 weeks internally for our internal team, and we didn't give them any extra help. And that's a game changer in this. You're taking something which historically has taken years, moving it down to weeks, and suddenly you vastly expand the number of things you can do with it. When you can iterate in weeks, not months, you can do 10 things instead of one thing, and it's really expanding this reach of this technology into the enterprise.
Okay, so Farrell, as people are watching this, they're trying to decide, was this helpful, friend, foe? What's your take?
Well, I think it's definitely very friendly. And that guy in the demo looked pretty friendly to me, for sure. I'll take that. You know, this isn't anything to be afraid of. This is not a technology that's going to go replace people's jobs. This is something, I'll borrow a word from Dave, that's going to make the work that we were doing less mundane, and we'll be able to focus on, you know, more interesting, more compelling, more meaningful work as a result.
Okay, so good for the people involved.
Absolutely, friend.
Friend. Everybody got friend.
Taking a stand.
I'm taking a stand. It's a friend.
So is AI ubiquitous and invisible, kind of like the character we saw in the video, or is there a sense that we lose control, and is there risk, Dave?
So AI's already pervasive, whether you're aware of it or not. It's already telling you what movies you might like. It's already recommending music you might listen to. Great example now that we had a few weeks ago came into the company. Now I've got something that tells me what emails I should focus on. Now, that's a really simple function, but in the past, you turn that off. Well, it's made my life easier. But you come in the morning, you sit there with 50 emails. I'd spend like 25 minutes going through them, trying to work out what was relevant, what wasn't. Now, it's a lot easier to come in and get straight into the stuff I want to do, and then look later on at some of the stuff that's being in a non-focused conversation. But I haven't had to train it on that. It just looks at how I use the system, and it starts to make decisions around it. So for me, if I can get an extra half an hour a day back, then yeah, that's worth having for me.
Okay, fantastic. So this is a Kingston launch event. How does this actually show up in the product? Pat, you touched on it a little bit. Can you talk more about what we're having in Kingston?
So this is not futures. It's not science fiction. It's shipping product. So in our Kingston product, we have it's called supervised machine learning. The product name is Agent Intelligence. And what that does is it takes a bunch of really tactical things that people used to have to do and automates them for you. It'll categorize your incidents, it'll prioritize them, it'll assign tasks, and it's extensible beyond that too. You can even take it and apply it to your own data sets, provided they live inside a ServiceNow. So it adds value to our applications, virtually immediately. You just turn it on and the apps get smarter. You don't have to do extra work to get that value.
So it's training on the data that I as a customer already have, not some other random set of data.
That's a big advantage that we have relative to some other people who've tried to solve this problem, is that we have the data sets because our customers have been using our products. And because of that, all the work you did last year, we can use to train a bot to perform similarly on the work you're going to do this year. And it's a great thing we have. The other advantage, frankly, is that we are in the enterprise space, so we tend to work with big customers, and therefore we can actually train bots just on one customer's data. So the bot's really good at solving that customer's problem, as opposed to us having to bring a more generic solution to market, which is average for everyone.
Right. Okay. It's a personalized experience.
Absolutely.
It's a very personalized experience for our customers.
Okay. Tell us more about that as we launch this into IT.
We did. So in Kingston, we are going to market with Agent Intelligence and IT service management, as well as customer service management. Really, the use cases out of the box that Pat mentioned, the assignment, prioritization, and categorization of cases for customer service management or incidents in IT service management. It doesn't stop there, though. We went there first because that's where the majority of our customers are. So it's low-hanging fruit for those customers. But we'll add on use cases for HR. So, for example, if you're trying to route an HR case, that it ends up getting categorized properly and assigned to the proper shared service or COE or Center of Excellence. Okay. I think you'll see more of that in the demo as well.
Okay, fantastic. Dave, tell us about the benefits and the outcomes that customers should expect with this in Kingston.
So the easiest way to look at it is look at some of the work that we've done with customers, some of the work that we've experienced when we've deployed it in-house, and some of the industry figures. So there's a great report came out recently off Accenture, and what they were doing was they were studying what the time spent was doing various tasks. So they found, when they looked at a typical customer support center, that around 12% of time was spent just doing that categorization, that assignment, that prioritization. Now, the interesting thing was that it wasn't just the speed that they could do things, it was the accuracy. So 43% of those customers had over 100 categories, and almost 25% out of them had over 300. Now, you could argue if you got 300 categories, you might have screwed up your implementation anyway.
Not so fun.
But the chance of you being able to get the right category each time, if you're choosing from 300 categories, is limited. And we were able to go out there and work with customers and start doing trials and seeing what they were getting. We found with our customers, they were spending around 8% of the time actually doing this task. And we could go through and apply AI technology to it and get around 95 to 97% of the accuracy that the people were getting by using the machines to classify. So it's not just, hey, can we do it? It's can we do it accurately as well?
Of course.
Right.
And we're a software company supporting hundreds of thousands of different users on this system. When we rolled it out, we looked at what we did on a monthly basis. So we've got 13,000 tickets or something we'll deal with every month. Now, when you go through that whole process, and we started to apply our techniques to it to see what we could achieve, we found that we were saving over a 2-month period around 320 hours. Now, if you work 160 hours a week, I wish I worked 160 hours a week. Then,
Quite a week.
then 160 hours a month. It would be quite a week. I wish I worked 160 hours a month. That's equatable to like one full-time head. Now, you're not saying that you're going to go in and replace that head, but when you start to see those incidents increase, by being able to take that mundaneness away from categorizing, prioritizing, assigning, you don't have to grow your team at the same rate. So it makes it more efficient and it optimizes the resources.
So when you have pressure from a new project or something, you're able to respond to that better because you have this resource in place.
Yeah, you got the flexibility. You're not running to the metal.
I would add in also that that's a satisfaction driver. If I don't have to pick out of a drop-down list of 300 categories and magically try to guess which one is gonna apply to you on the other side, that makes me happy. So our customers have a better experience.
Because what always happens on a customer site, same thing. If you go to a site and drop a drop-down list, I don't know how many websites I'm probably from Albania on because it's the first thing that appears on the list, and I can't be bothered going through and digging them all out. So it makes it a better user experience as well.
I think it's even more than the user, though, because that is true, but it also makes the life of the actual agent better. It's
Right.
one less incredibly monotonous, boring thing the poor agent has to do. It just makes their quality of life a bit better. And it's worth pointing out as well, we've been doing this inside of ServiceNow for, 8 months now. So any customers out there who've actually interacted with the ServiceNow support organization, it's been AI doing the categorization and prioritization since last summer.
Yeah, interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump ahead a little bit outside of Kingston. Where's all this going? I've got a quote in my notes. I want to make sure I get it right because it's from Gartner. They predict that by 2020, 85% of customer interactions will be managed by AI. So for us to, if that's the trend in the market, what are we doing in future releases to get there?
Well, I think look at a couple of different sides of it. We talked a bit about the agent intelligence, and that's largely about doing some behind-the-scenes routing things. Makes the overall experience more seamless, but for the customer, the only real difference is we might ask them a few less questions, and they might get their answer a little bit faster. And those are both good things. The next level, though, is really to try to manage some of the monotonous interactions between human beings. Especially if you work a call center, you have what I classify as a lot of rote conversations. Where's my check? What's the balance in my savings account? Can you please show me how to transfer money? You know what? You really don't need a smart human to do that. And smart humans who have to do that over and over again, they get bored. It's a low quality of life. Quality of service may degrade because we don't do as well on things we're boring at or we're bored at doing. So the new things we're releasing on that front is we have a set of virtual agents coming out. And virtual agent, it's sort of a fancy name for a chatbot. It's a bot that you can chat at that can do things for you. And they're not general purpose. It's not, like you probably heard of the Microsoft chatbot, which they put out on the internet and it became homicidal or something. At least it was profane. You kind of have to tell them what to do, but you'll have a bot that knows how to reset a password, or a bot that knows how to open an incident for you, or give you some HR information. And every customer may have a different set of tasks they want to automate, but you can do that through the virtual agents. And the nice thing about them is they know their limitations. So when they can't answer the problem, they just give up and bring it to a human. So then if you're the human working there, you only get the interesting problems, for lack of a better word. The monotonous work gets handled by the bots. So that's all stuff that's coming out in London. If you're one of our reps, you'll see that on stage at Knowledge. One of our customers, you'll see that on stage at Knowledge. But we're super excited about it. It's fascinating stuff, and it really does look like it's going to make the whole process better for everybody involved, the customers and the employees.
My challenge with virtual agents is always trying to figure out how far do I go with the, hey, how are you conversation?
Right.
I'm good, thanks, how are you?
The best practice is you just admit you're a bot and move on. Hi, I'm a bot, and then people know not to make small talk.
Then there's no etiquette that you have to worry about. Good. Farrell, any more practical applications of virtual agents that come to mind?
Sure. We want to make sure that our customers are equipped right out of the gate once they purchase a virtual agent from us. We are coding roughly 12 conversations that'll be out of the box for customers that are along the lines of some of the things that Pat mentioned. So it's just that the basic, very common administrative kind of use cases or questions that get asked during an incident or any kind of a task. Status, password reset, update, give me a timeline, estimated time that I'm gonna have to wait for something. All of those are very applicable across a wide range for customers that are handling incidents or different task types. And so we'll put those out of the box and make it very, very easy for customers to get started and get value right away.
Okay, fantastic.
A lot of it's, I always think when I see chatbots being used, a lot of it's around kind of removing some of the distractions. So if you think of the agent as being the quarterback, then you've got chatbots acting there as like offensive linemen, making sure they're not interrupted, making sure they can get on with what they want. And that's like the first American sports analogy I've ever used. So.
Well done.
So Pat, as the leader of the platform organization, there's a lot of customers out there building applications on the ServiceNow platform.
Mm-hmm.
Are what we're talking about today only available to applications that we build in our cloud services, or can developers do this too?
We actually designed it as a platform service. And so the machine learning you heard about, that's in Kingston. You can use it in Kingston for any data set that you have in the platform. So if you built my infamous llama farming application, if you have a history of 5,000 farms and llamas that did great things, you can train a bot on them. You need a big enough data set to train off of, and ballpark 10 to 100,000 entries, probably the ballpark you want to be in. Mm-hmm. But if you've got that, you can train, and you can do it for your applications, custom apps. The same thing for the virtual agents. Farrell mentioned the 12 or so conversations that we want to have out of box. That's one of the advantages we can bring to the table because we sort of know this space. We can pick a pretty good guess on 12 useful conversations. But we know we're not going to be perfect, and in particular organizations, you may have conversations which are unique to you. So the agent framework is designed to let you build your own bots, and they can speak to things that are related to our apps, or they can speak to things that are completely unique to you. And it's a full framework that you can use to extend on top of, and that's available in London as well.
Okay, fantastic. Dave, we talked about supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, kind of flew right by that. Can you explain the difference for us briefly?
So supervised machine learning is where you train the system how to do something. Unsupervised machine learning is the kind of, that gets closer to some of the science fiction thoughts that people have. That's where the system's out there making its own decisions. But although people will say, oh yeah, maybe is it a bit science fiction-y, it's not. We will get to that point as you start to see AI technologies increase. But what this is more about is being able to have artificial intelligence assist you in doing something, to start to spot when you're perhaps doing something wrong, to make recommendations, to give you articles that might help you do what you're doing. What you really want to get to is the situation where the machine recognizes that you're doing something, and it'll say, hey, I can see what you're doing. 93% of the time when people do this, this, and this, they also do this. do you want to do that? Or in an ideal world, tie that to automation and say, do you want me to do that for you? So it's that ability to upskill people. So it's kind of augmentation. It's making people better than they naturally be by being able to provide that. Now that's something that is more future orientated, but you see more and more people out there starting to look at this as a technology now.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
if you look at the kind of macro level too, I mean, that's a position we're taking as a company. We do think that making people more effective at the job they're doing is really a better path forward than trying to supplement their whole job. Fundamentally, I think it's probably not going to work if you try to get rid of people entirely in a lot of these jobs.
Yeah.
Like there's some unique elements that we bring to the table, but we're not even trying. Like we very much want to aim our technologies at augmenting the work people do and making people's lives better, more effective, more productive, in contrast to trying to say, hey, look, our goal is to build a special bot which you can run instead of humans.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. So it sounds like we're making AI really accessible to our customers through our cloud services, making it easier for them to focus on the work that they really care about most and taking some of the mundane stuff out of the way. The virtual agents are going to make that a better experience on the user side as well. So that's all super exciting stuff. Thanks for helping us break that down and understand it. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back with the same group and we're going to get into a little bit more specifics around Kingston and start with no-code process automation. We'll be right back. And welcome back. So let's continue our exploration of the Kingston themes, and we'll pick up with no-code process automation. I have a very simple question, Pat. What is it, and why is it important?
All right, always the simple questions have probably the less simple answers. So really, since we launched this platform, and probably if you go back to the dawn of the computer era, people had to change what computers did, right? That's what you do. And you wrote code, you programmed. It was programmers who did that. And that really limited the number of human beings who were effective at working with computers or working on products like this. So when you look at the modern world, we're trying to bring more people into the technology and to expand the pool of people who can do work, automate work, and otherwise make it do what you want to. And the way you do that is you get out of programming and you give people other tools where they can express that kind of business logic, graphically or in something that's a non-programmatic model. So we put a big investment in Kingston into a kind of pair of linked products, something called Flow Designer and something called Integration Hub, which are aimed at letting you do fairly robust business tasks. You can send notifications, you can move data back and forth between systems, you can change the values of things on screen when something else happens, all through a really innovative and I think easy to use interface that doesn't involve ever writing code. You will not write a line of code. If you like writing code, we didn't turn off those features of the platform, but we're really trying to make it easier to configure, easier to automate, and easier to work with.
So it does what it says it does. It
Yeah,
automates processes with no code.
It's one of those marketing names which is actually very well aligned with the underlying product functionality. So
As a marketer, I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not, but
I think you
we'll
should
go
take
with
it what you will. It's a great name.
So Dave, what are some of the use cases that this addresses for our customers that they should be thinking about?
So this is every customer I ever speak to, every customer we ever implement to, they've got integrations into different systems, whether it's at the most basic level into something like Active Directory, or what's happened now is people are moving more and more to disparate systems. So everyone's got multiple SaaS solutions, everyone's got things that are on-premise, things that are off-premise. So it's becoming more and more relevant that people can easily move data around between those systems and easily tie those systems together. And even going beyond that, when you look now at how people run businesses, quite often they're working with multiple external companies. They've got things that are outsourced, things that are offshored, things that are running within different parts of the company. So again, that need to be able to move data around between all those different providers and different parts of the company are key. And people don't necessarily want to go in and constantly code into APIs to be able to build it. If I can graphically see what it's doing, it makes it easier for me to understand exactly what that process is. And the more processes I can automate, the more efficient I make the business. And as workloads grow, people are just going to need to be able to take some of that workload out of the business, and automation is the best way to do that.
Okay, Fantastic. So with machine learning, we kind of had to rely on the video to give us examples of what that was. With this, we can see it in the product. So let's go to our platform demo experts that are standing by, and they'll walk you through and show you what this looks like.
Hi, I'm Megan Amari, and I'm joined today by Rebecca Diaz. We're both part of the Now Platform product team here at ServiceNow. Today, we're going to talk about some of the exciting new capabilities we have coming out in the Kingston release for no-code process automation. So, Rebecca, no-code development takes a huge step forward for us in the Kingston release. Why is that so important?
Well, ultimately, we really want to help enable IT to accelerate supporting the line of business. Today, they have a huge backlog that's not allowing them to keep pace with the business needs.
And another challenge that we know that they're facing is the heavy amount of coding that goes into creating integrations.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately what we want to do is enable the line of business to be able to reuse and leverage codeless components while they're building their business processes, and enable the subject matter experts to encapsulate that logic in those reusable components for them.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a great step forward. So let's take a closer look at what we have in Kingston for Flow Designer.
Okay, cool. Let's take a look. So here I want to create a flow on my expense application. I can trigger this flow by changes to the record state or through a job schedule. In this case, I'm going to do it off the expenses table. So I have an expenses table in my custom application that I'm building that I'm going to apply an approval towards. So the first thing that I want to do is actually do some logic to identify if this is less than $100. So what I want to do is pull the expense record that's coming in from the flow and look at the amount and see if that amount is less than $100.
And that looks like it's in a totally intuitive interface. It's a natural language. Anyone is able to use this.
Absolutely. So what I want to be able to do is then update this record that's coming in from that trigger to automatically approve it. I can add any fields here. In this case, I'm going to update the approval. I'm going to say this is approved. And I can add even some work notes, let's say, where I explain why it was approved.
And that's great. It looks like that's something that line of business can easily pick up and drive themselves.
Absolutely. And then I could add some additional logic here. I could actually go in here and say, no, when it's larger than that, I do want to do an approval. I could use the out-of-box ask for approval in the system, but in this case, I've actually already encapsulated the business logic for a manager approval for my application, which just allows me to simply pass in the expense record, and I'm done. Check it out. I've got my flow built.
Great. So what about when you need to integrate third-party services? How does that work in Integration Hub?
Well, Integration Hub is pretty powerful in that it provides you quite a bit of out-of-box content. So here you can see I have Microsoft Teams support. I can automatically do posts to my different collaboration services like Microsoft Teams, HipChat, or Slack. That's some of the out-of-box content shipping, as well as the ability to do ticket correlation and ticket exchange with other ServiceNow instances. But in this case, I had worked with some of my integration developers to build a wrapper for Concur, because I want to be able to send this approval to my actual expense system. In this case, it happens to be Concur. So all I need to do here is grab that action and then essentially configure it. In this case, I need to pull in the correlation ID from the record, which correlates it to the record in Concur, and then apply my approval status from the record that I've just updated. And boom, I've got my integration now incorporated into that flow.
That's pretty amazing, and all without writing code. It almost seems like it's too good to be true.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. The business process automation solution is totally codeless. However, we haven't removed the developer's capacity to use code. We have the action designer that allows them to encapsulate that code and surface it as those reusable components. So you can do things like integrations and API wrapping and really important stuff like that.
Definitely. That sounds like it's pretty amazing. Thanks for showing us all of that, Becky. That about wraps it up for the Now platform. We've shown you the Flow Designer, which enables line of business and process analysts to build their own flows without writing a single line of code, and the Integration Hub, which extends those capabilities to be able to integrate third-party services with all your flows.
All right, let's explore our final theme for the Kingston launch event, and that is user experience innovations. And so Dave, I know sometimes when I talk to folks, there's a little bit of confusion around user experience, and well, isn't that just the UI? But we're talking about a lot more than that, aren't we?
Absolutely. So I mean, user experience and user interface are kind of two of the things that I didn't have a lot of exposure to before I got here, but since I've been here, they're like some of the most interesting things you look at. But people do get hung up on where the pixels are pushed on the screen. That's all about user experience, but it's not. It's how you work. It's how you get work done. It's how you interface to a system. So if you take something basic like changing my address, if I've got my address stored in 6 different systems and you can give me one place to change it and then automate that, I've got a better user experience. If I've got customers that are going to experience a problem and I can warn them in advance of that problem, I'm giving them a better user experience. So getting hung up on what the UI looks like isn't necessarily what user experience is all about. Although some of the innovations that we see around the user interface, some of the work that we've done around the portal technology, that also does increase the user experience. I mean, you can't say the UI's got nothing to do with it. The advances we've seen in the UI have been pretty spectacular as well.
Okay. Farrell, what's happening in your area for user experience?
Yeah, we declared, I think it was last year at Knowledge in 2017, we made a statement that we really wanted to invest in not just the requester or the end user experience, but those that then are executing the work. A lot of times we'll use the word fulfiller to describe those people. And you saw with the agent intelligence, and ultimately in London when we come out with virtual agents, that's an investment in our fulfillers and helping to support them to have more meaningful work, the extra set of hands. But we are taking that a bit further in Kingston and really digging into the fulfiller experience in some of the applications specifically. Okay. So for example, major incident management, making sure that in those moments of where time is critical and you have a major incident or a crisis that you're working, that we've been really thoughtful about how you're going to navigate and interact in those moments. And we've done as much work up front for you as possible, so when you're in that crisis or when you're in that major incident, you're not having to deal with the administration of what should I write in this notification? Who should this notification go to? That you have access to playbooks that you built ahead of time that you can just execute confidently against because you've already thought through some of the situation ahead of time. And that you can execute key automation straight from that playbook while you're working the major incident. So just a new level of thoughtfulness that we're applying there. We did the same thing in Project Workbench in IT business management, where we're just making the experience around managing project work a lot more enjoyable, saving clicks and saving time and thought is going to allow us to have a much better outcome and better value to the business when you're operating that way. In our performance analytics, we added in text analytics, which is just going to give you a whole other level of insight for our fulfillers overall that we didn't have previously.
Okay. I love what you said about confidence in there, like in a major incident when somebody's there and they're confident that it's all going to be okay because they've got everything orchestrated.
You thought about it ahead of time, and I've run a crisis bridge before. I've been on a bridge. The last thing you want to be doing is scrambling. Mm-hmm. You want everyone to feel confident, to be calm, and to execute. And we're building the experience that's going to allow you to do that better.
Great. I think I created the need for a crisis bridge once. Hopefully it wasn't the same one.
You were the crisis.
No, I know.
All right, so there's so much to show around user experience for IT, customer service, security, and HR. So let's go to our demo teams to check it out.
Thanks for joining me for the IT segment. What I'm going to talk about here is how we've improved the user experience specifically for the fulfiller, the administrator side of the ServiceNow experience. Usually when we talk about user experience, we talk about consumers and end users. Well, it's really about IT, we know that, and it's about the people that are getting the work done in IT. First, let's talk about some of the challenges we've seen that really helps identify kind of the investments we've made here. First and foremost, we see that IT staff can get overwhelmed pretty quickly when something high pressure or very stressful kind of happens. So I'm going to talk through how we're addressing that pressure, that overwhelming sense with IT. Next, I'll talk about how project planning can get overly complicated. People tend to manage within silos there, and I want to kind of broaden your horizons on how you can take a more portfolio-based approach there. And then finally, I'll talk about unstructured data and the challenges there, and how you can gain greater insight even from unstructured data. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of quick demos. Now, the first area around this overwhelming IT staff situation is that this typically comes from something very high pressure, high stress coming into IT. And it can't always be one thing, right? It's going to be a multitude of things, and that's where the fire drills happen and people get kind of stressed out. What we did in a previous release is we introduced the CAB workbench, the Change Advisory Board workbench. We've taken that same idea and we've extended it to major incidents. And so when it comes to something really important, a P1 or what we categorize as a major incident, there's actually people in charge of major incidents now. And the tools that they're using are typically spread across multiple tools or multiple providers. So we want to take the same idea we did with the CAB workbench and apply it to major incidents. And what you can see here is that we've tried to pull the most pertinent information of managing a major incident into this interface, this experience. Like what the incident is, what the child incidents are that are contributing to this, what the affected CIs are, and what the impacted services are. So everything you need to know, and then the people and the communication threads that are really involved in making sure you can resolve this incident as quickly as possible. So that's a huge step in this direction of trying to build around scenarios instead of just building features. It's really about building scenarios, and this additional workbench capability we think is going to be really important. Now, as I said, they never come in one at a time, so we've given you the ability to manage multiple major incidents with this dashboarding capability. And so you can prioritize and dive in based on looking at a dashboard of multiple major incidents as well. So we have project and portfolio management, of course, and what we've seen is that the project management teams typically manage one project at a time, kind of in vertical silos. What we want to try to do is push that portfolio experience even on project managers so they can look across multiple projects. And so the workspace idea around our project and portfolio management capability is really putting you in a more command center view of all the projects and labor that you have going. So instead of switching from project to project to project, you can see them all at a glance. And you can actually dive in and manage some of these things as well. You can see what the status is, your completion across multiple projects, look at open risks, open issues as well, and make better decisions. So we're making it easier for you to manage in a portfolio view rather than individually within each silo. Now, if you're taking a portfolio-based view with your projects, we of course want to extend that to your applications like we did with application performance management and even software asset management. We've made some improvements in software asset management you should be aware of. And first and foremost, we've added more publisher packs. We had Microsoft and Oracle before. We have that, of course, in Kingston. We're adding IBM and VMware. And this is mostly kind of the on-premises software that you have to manage. And so that's great. We're adding publisher packs all the time with each release. But you also want to extend that mentality of managing the licenses and subscriptions in the cloud. And so we've added support for Office 365 as well. So in Kingston, you not only get IBM and VMware for on-premises, but you also get the Office 365 support on top of that. So that's how you can take a more portfolio-based approach to managing whether it's your projects, your applications, or even your licenses. It takes a lot of manual intervention for IT folks to really kind of interpret information that's put into forms, if it's free-form text. And we've done a lot to actually automate the categorization of information and assignment of information like in the last release. But we can do better, and we're going to use analytics to do that. So what I want to introduce to you today is the text analytics capability that we introduced as part of performance analytics. And you can see this word cloud visualization where we can surface common terms that are more prevalent than others in these, I guess, free-form or unstructured data fields, like a description. So in this case, you see the word account is highlighted. You can see the trend line at the bottom, and you can see it trending up. So more instances of the word account are coming up, so we better investigate. we see that there's associations to other words like locked in this case and password. And what we want to be able to do is dig in and see, is that a common issue? So we can do exactly that. I can go to the Related Records tab, and I can actually take action within ServiceNow. Remember, that's what's different about us. We're in platform, so you can see how you can get the information, but then you can also dive in and take action on resolving many of these top issues that we've surfaced as a result. So we take the unstructured information, structure it even more, and you can get to resolution much more quickly as a result of getting that deeper insight from text analytics. So let's sum up what you've seen today. Kingston delivers this great user experience for the administrator, the fulfiller side within IT. So we were able to use major incident management to provide that fast, coordinated response for the service management folks out there. It's about portfolio management, folks. So whether you're managing projects or assets or applications, it's all about trying to make that easier to manage. We've provided an easier to use project workspace for the project management folks to manage multiple projects. And we've improved our support for additional publishers with IBM, VMware, and of course Office 365 support as well. And then finally, using text analytics, we're able to take that unstructured data and surface deeper insights with that word cloud visualization and the correlation that you saw as well. So with that, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks for watching this segment.
Hi, I'm Piero DePaoli from ServiceNow's Security Product Marketing Group, and with me is Harold Byun from Product Management. Harold, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks, Piero. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So we're going to be talking a bunch about some of the things that we've done in Kingston for security operations. Now, we've launched a lot of new features in both security operations and our governance, risk, and compliance offerings. But we really want to take this time to talk about something that's really important, and that's actually helping organizations stop phishing attacks. Now, phishing is the #1 method used by attackers to get into organizations. And this is when an email is sent that looks legitimate and it tricks a user into clicking on something that potentially could install malware or infect a machine. Really, the problem that we were helping to solve here is that organizations really need to quickly stop these different phishing attacks, as users will send information about phishing into someone in security, and they've got to do a whole bunch of work to go and solve those problems. And so what we've done in Kingston is we've really eliminated a lot of that mundane work that a security team needs to do. And so, Harold, do you want to walk through a little bit about how we've been able to help here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with phishing, basically, you're trying to determine or answer the question of whether or not you've been popped or not. And it's a question, it requires analysis, it takes a ton of time, and you have to do it because you got to answer that question. Are you owned or not? And so what we've done is we basically have automated the phishing attack remediation and analysis process, or analysis and remediation process, rather. So this is an example of a workflow built into ServiceNow Security Operations, basically guiding the team through the analysis associated with a phishing attack. But what we're also able to do is take any email that hits the enterprise. When a user forwards that to their security team, it automatically hits ServiceNow. We parse all that information, we look at the headers, we do all the analysis and all the lookups, and we basically help organizations make that determination or verification pretty much on the spot. So we're saving people a ton of time. It's the #1 entry point for attacks. It's why you read about a breach every other week. And so you'll see here, this is an example of where we've actually ingested an email attachment. It's been forwarded. We automatically parse that. You can see here we actually pull through the headers. This is a little bit nerdy, but it's basically the headers in that email. We've done all the analysis. And then what we do is we drive automated lookups into threat intel. And so you'll see here, this is actually reported as known malicious using one of our multiple threat intel integrations without anybody having to lift a finger to do this. So we now know what the call is. And you'll see here now we're driving requests for automatically deleting additional emails in exchange to basically reduce the potential risk of these unopened emails that other people may open and click on bad stuff. And so this is actually the workflow and automation pack around that. So we're actually going into Microsoft Exchange and looking up these unopened emails and automatically deleting them. So, huge time savings. I can't tell you how many customers we talk to. It's the #1 ask, period. It's a hassle, and it requires the analysis, and you got to do it. So.
Awesome. So essentially what we've done is we've taken a whole bunch of manual steps that could take a security analyst hours to go and work through on a daily basis, and we've eliminated those hours down to just a few seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the moment that security analyst opens that security incident from a phishing attack, all the boring work that they have to do to go and do the research is already done for them, so then they can go ahead and make a decision. And they can make that decision and remediate that problem from within ServiceNow. So there you go, end-to-end phishing response with security operations. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Holly Simmons, and with me today is my colleague, Venki Subramanian. We're both from the Customer Service Management team. We're going to talk to you today about the user experience innovations for customer service management, knowledge management, and communities. So we're going to start off by talking about the challenges, both for customers as well as customer service agents. Today, lots of customers use self-service. They get lots of information, but what they're really looking for is relevant information. Additionally, lots of customers want to be able to share their expertise with others. For customer service agents, they're frequently thinking about how do they constantly increase customer satisfaction. And one of the ways they can do that is through engagement. Engaged customers lead to higher satisfaction, which leads to greater customer loyalty. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Venki.
Sure. I'm excited to show you some of the innovations that we are bringing in this release to help companies engage with their customers better. Communities was introduced in the previous release to enable companies to engage with their end customers and to enable them to connect with their peers and share their expertise and get their questions answered. Now, while this is happening, we want to enable companies to also capture the knowledge that actually is getting created in that community, right? So for that, we are integrating communities with knowledge management. So as you can see on the screen, when there is a question that was actually asked and it was answered in the community and was marked as an accepted solution, now just with the click of a button, you can actually harvest knowledge from here. You can take that information and make it available as part of the authorized knowledge base published by the community. So now customers can find this information as well as other agents can find this information when they have a similar question. We are also attributing that answer to the person who actually wrote that in the community and linking that to the discussion so that you can get more contextual information from there.
You know, this is really amazing. It's a totally unique thing in the customer service market to have an integrated solution where you have knowledge management, communities, customer service, and the portal all integrated.
That's right.
And additionally, I mentioned the relevant information. Because this was an accepted solution in the community, customers know that someone else has already tested it out for them.
Right.
Perfect.
And you know that not all questions get answered in the community, right? So we are again extending this integration to allow a community question that goes unanswered to be converted to a case so that we can get help from customer service agents to answer that. So when I'm looking at a question that has not been answered, I can easily convert that, create a case out of it, and by applying agent intelligence, the system is automatically able to categorize this, prioritize, and assign it to the right group. So we are able to get this to the hands of the experts quickly so that they can find an answer and respond to this very quickly.
You know, that is such a great customer experience. Now, when anyone goes to a community, they'll know that their questions aren't going to go unanswered.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Now, Holly, you mentioned earlier that engaged customers tend to be more loyal. Now, how do you motivate engagement in the community? This is where we are providing an integrated gamification platform that works with community to award points for specific activities that motivates the right kind of behavior in the community. So we can encourage customers who are actively participating in the community, creating content or answering questions by awarding them points. So when any user goes to the community, as you can see on the right side of the screen, you can see the leaderboard. You can quickly find who are the most engaged users in the community. If you want to know more about who are experts in a specific forum or a specific topic, you can drill down from there into the leaderboard and you can filter this by forums and topics. When you go to a user's profile, you can quickly see the points that they have been awarded for their contributions, as well as badges that could be provided for achieving certain levels of engagement in the community. So this helps users build their reputation around their topics of expertise so that other users who are interested can easily find them and engage with them.
That's great, Venki. Thank you for sharing that. So in Kingston, what you'll find is that we have opportunities for both customers as well as customer service agents. And some of those capabilities that Venki showed, the knowledge harvesting, as well as the community case creation and agent intelligence, will help customers to get to relevant information, as well as to be able to share their expertise with others. And then at the same time, customer service agents can take advantage of communities and the gamification capabilities in order to reward customers for their customer participation. Right. And that concludes our review of the Kingston highlights for customer service management. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Villamick, Head of Product Marketing for the HR product line, and I'm joined today by Eric Gerstein, our Technical Product Marketing Manager. We're going to highlight a couple of the new innovations within the Kingston release for HR service delivery that really impact the user experience, both for the employees getting service and the HR agents providing that service. First, we're going to solve the challenge that employees often have when they're trying to complete a task within a process. Could be setting up direct deposit as part of onboarding, but they have a question. Now, these questions typically stall the process because often the right person to ask that question isn't even in HR. They might be in the finance department. So this kicks off an email thread outside of the system, which causes inefficiencies and delays. We're going to show you how we can make that a lot easier for employees. We're also going to show you how we can make life easier for HR agents when they're answering multiple common inquiries from different employees. Manually responding to each one of these inquiries one by one is time consuming, it's inefficient, and it really reduces the accuracy and consistency of the responses. So we're going to show you a better way today. Eric, let's show how we're making life a lot easier for both employees and HR agents.
Well, thanks, Mike. First, I want to start out by showing you how we're improving the employee's experience with Embedded Connect. So Sarah is a new hire, and she's working on her onboarding tasks. She wants to set up her direct deposit. She would like to distribute her funds into multiple accounts, but she's not sure if that's allowed.
Yeah, so that's a good example of when an employee would start sending out emails to try to find out the answers.
That's exactly right. But now what she can do is she can type out her message in chat, and it's automatically routed to a payroll expert. Switching over to Roger, who's in the payroll department, receives the chat real time. He's then able to reply to her with the information she needs to complete her direct deposit. Then the chat notes are saved in the task for historical purposes. Switching over to Sarah, Sarah receives Roger's request, and now she can set up her direct deposit right away. Next, I'm going to show you how we're improving the HR agent's experience with response templates. So Scott is logged into ServiceNow in his virtual task board. He's working on cases, and he wants to work on Mara's 401k eligibility request. Mara's a new hire, and she would like to know when she can enroll in 401k.
So that seems like a common inquiry that an agent like Scott would probably receive all the time.
Absolutely. Scott knows because it's a common request, HR administrators set up a response template to enable him to provide a quick and accurate reply. So from the responses option, he can select the 401k eligibility template, and then it's automatically pre-populated with personalized information that he could either A, post to the additional comments, or post to other areas of communication such as email or chat. This also saves him time from typing out a complete message and ensures Mara gets an accurate reply. This feature is also available globally on the ServiceNow platform.
Thanks, Eric. So with Kingston, we're really enabling our customers to provide an even better employee service experience for their employees by giving them real-time access to experts and answers right within the task, right within the product, using the Embedded Connect feature. And we're improving the lives of those HR agents by making it easy, quick for them to respond to those common employee inquiries using the response templates. There's a ton of great stuff within the HR service delivery product for Kingston. These are the highlights for the user experience section. Thank you.
So we're not done yet. This is a great part of the event where you get to choose your own adventure. We've got deep dives for all different kinds of the products, so you get to pick where you want to go, the things that you care about the most. It's been great having the panel with me today. We've covered machine learning, no-code process automation, and user experiences, innovations in Kingston. Pat, Farrell, Dave, thanks so much for being here. And to everyone out there, don't forget to upgrade to Kingston today.